The text message glowed on my screen like an open wound. Annual Family Beach Week is for successful children only. Maybe next year if you get a real job. I leaned back in my leather seat aboard a Gulfstream G700, cruising high above the Atlantic, returning from closing a $750 million 0-cents commercial property deal in Dubai. At 31, I'd built Ellington Global Properties into one of the most discreet yet dominant real estate firms in the world. Not that my family had any idea, they still thought I was their odd daughter who flipped houses for fun. The setting for this annual Parade of Pride? The family's Malibu Beach estate. The crown jewel of what my parents considered real success. Every summer since childhood, we gathered there. My older sister, a renowned neurosurgeon, my brother, a hedge fund hotshot in Manhattan, and me, the failure, who couldn't hold a normal job. Miss Ellington, my assistant Harper, appeared at my side holding a sleek black folder. The coastal acquisition reports you requested. I smiled as I took it, the hum of the jet engines masking the thunder of satisfaction in my chest. Inside were the details of my latest project, buying every single property along the 2-mile stretch of beach where our family estate sat. Through shell corporations, discreet LLCs, and ironclad NDAs. The locals had sold eagerly, never knowing the shadowy buyer was the daughter of Charles and Vivian Ellington. How much do we own now? I asked, though I already knew the answer. As of this morning, Harper replied, her lips curling in a satisfied grin. Every property, except your family's estate. That's the last one. I glanced at the time. 5 p.m. Pacific. Perfect. The annual family week would be kicking off right about now. I could see it in my mind. Mom arranging her designer caftans in the master suite, Dad mixing his overpriced martinis, my siblings clinking champagne glasses with their equally smug spouses. My phone buzzed again. A cascade of group photos appeared. Everyone gathered on the terrace, ocean waves glittering behind them, champagne, laughter, hashtags about family and success. Mom's captions stabbed like a blade. Missing our whole family, maybe next year you'll have something to celebrate with us. I opened my laptop. On the screen waited a single, final document. The acquisition notice for the Ellington family estate. One click would trigger the alert to every property owner on the beachfront, including my parents. Effective immediately, the land beneath their beach house and every house within 2 miles was now owned by Ellington Global Properties. I let my finger hover over the trackpad, savoring the silence of this moment, the culmination of a decade of being underestimated, dismissed, and mocked. Harper, I said calmly, as the jet began its descent toward LAX. Yes, Miss Ellington. Send the notification. And with that click, everything they thought they knew about success and about me would shatter like a wave against a shore. Is everything ready? Harper nodded. Security teams are in place, new locks installed on every property. The notice will go out to all residents simultaneously. Another family photo pinged on my screen. Dad on the sun-drenched deck of the Malibu estate, holding a martini like a trophy, probably rehearsing his annual toast to the Ellington legacy of success. Send it, I said. Her tapped her tablet. Across 2 miles of prime California coastline, every homeowner, including my parents, would be receiving the same message. Notice of ownership change. Effective immediately, this property is under the management of Ellington Global Properties. All current access codes and keys will be deactivated at midnight. New residents must apply for access through the management office. I powered down my phone, knowing within minutes it would light up like a Christmas tree. The Gulfstream tilted downward, beginning its descent into LAX. Do you want the car to take you straight to Malibu? Harper asked. I smiled, watching the molten orange sunset streak across the Pacific. No, let them sweat a little. Have security send me the live feeds. I want to see their faces when those gates don't open. Hours later, I lounged in my Manhattan-inspired penthouse overlooking the city lights of Los Angeles, a glass of 20-year-old Japanese whiskey in my hand, a bottle that cost more than my sister's designer SUV. My laptop screen glowed, 6 feeds streaming in real time. The scene was more addictive than any reality show. And 4:43 p.m., Dad's first attempt to swipe his keycard at the gate. Access denied. 10:44 p.m. Second attempt. Denied. 10:45 p.m. Dad shaking the gate, muttering curses, while Mom frantically dialed the security company. By 10:52, my brother Nathan, the self-proclaimed Wall Street prodigy, stormed into view, jaw clenched, phone to his ear, barking demands to speak with someone in charge. "Ma'am," Harper's voice crackled over the intercom, calm as ever. "Your father is threatening to sue. Your brother claims he knows the district attorney." I grinned, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. "Follow protocol. Direct all inquiries to Ellington Global's legal department." 11:03 p.m. My sister Vivienne arrived, fresh from a 12-hour surgery shift, her surgeon's confidence evaporating when her keycard failed. Now all three stood stranded on the driveway, the Pacific breeze tugging at their perfect lives, while neighbors peeked through curtains, savoring the spectacle. 47 missed calls, 8 voicemails, the latest one from Dad crackled through the speaker. "Alexis, this is outrageous. Do you know who I am? I demand to speak to whoever's in charge of Ellington Global immediately." Oh, the irony. I opened my laptop, typed a single sentence into a blank email addressed to the family group chat, and hit send. Subject: access granted. Body: you wanted successful children only. Congratulations, you're standing on my property. I leaned back, taking a slow sip of whiskey as the Pacific waves crashed against a shoreline I now owned. Every grain of sand, every blade of seagrass, every memory that had once excluded me. And trust me, this is only the beginning. You haven't seen their reaction yet. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens when I finally face them. From Ellington Global Properties. Subject: meeting request. Your presence is required tomorrow at 8:00 a.m. sharp at Ellington Global Headquarters, 90th floor, Skyline Tower, downtown Los Angeles, to discuss the recent property acquisition. Dress appropriately. Regards. The owner. Within minutes, my family's replies began flooding in. Vivian, the surgeon scheduled. Nathan, the trader is at open. Mom, this is unacceptable. Dad, we'll be there, and our lawyers will too. I closed the email and turned toward the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse, watching the sprawl of Los Angeles glitter beneath me. For years, I'd stood in this city quietly building an empire, while they flaunted their titles and wealth, dismissing my work as playing with houses. They had no idea that half the skyline they bragged about to their friends was mine. "Harper?" I called to my assistant. "Yes, Miss Ellington? Is everything ready for tomorrow?" "Absolutely. The conference room is set, security's been briefed, and the digital wall will display the family photos you requested." "Perfect." I smiled as I turned back to the security feeds, still streaming from Malibu. My parents and siblings stood outside the estate gates in designer resort wear, their beach week unraveling in real time. Mom clutched her phone, eyes red. Dad barked into his while pacing. Nathan was on his tablet, likely frantically Googling Ellington Global Properties. Good luck, I thought, because they wouldn't find much. I had spent a decade building this company in absolute secrecy, shielded by trusts and shell corporations. The only public glimpse of me was a silhouette in Forbes last month, under the headline, "The Real Estate Phantom, the Billionaire Behind Coastal Takeovers." My phone buzzed. A text from Vivian lit up the screen. "This is your fault, isn't it? Always ruining family time with your drama." I didn't bother replying. Instead, I fired off another email to the group. Meeting moved to 8:00. I am in. Don't be late. The owner. Dad's response came in seconds. "How dare you move the time? Do you know who we are?" I typed back slowly. "Yes, that's exactly why the time was changed." The owner. Switching off the screens, I headed into my private gym. Tomorrow wasn't just a meeting, it was the performance of a lifetime. It would take every ounce of composure to sit across from the people who'd spent years underestimating me and calmly reveal the truth. Their unsuccessful daughter didn't just own their beach house, she owned every home they could see from its deck, and a good share of the skyline behind it. "Harper," I called before starting my workout, "set the conference room temperature slightly too warm tomorrow, and make sure their chairs are just a little lower than mine." This wasn't just a meeting. It was justice served with a panoramic view. After all, they were the ones who taught me about power plays. Every smug beach week dinner was a masterclass in condescension. 7:55 a.m., I stood in my private office on the 90th floor of Skyline Tower, adjusting the lapel of my Valentino suit. Through the one-way glass, I watched my family file into the Ellington Global Conference Room, like actors in a drama they didn't know I'd written. They looked exhausted, probably spent the night in a hotel after discovering their Malibu keys didn't work. Not exactly the luxury vacation they'd envisioned. Dad paced aggressively at the far end of the table, his lawyer murmuring strategies in his ear. Mom smoothed her perfect blowout for the 10th time, a nervous tick left over from her beauty queen days. Nathan and Vivian sat stiffly in their chairs, which were deliberately set a few inches lower than mine. The tiny detail thrilled me. "Ms. Ellington," Harper appeared in the doorway, serene as ever. "Everything's ready." I checked my reflection one last time, my crimson lipstick a flawless weapon. "Start the presentation." The massive wall screens in the conference room flickered to life, displaying aerial images of the Malibu coastline. Property by property they appeared, each labeled with the Ellington Global seal. From behind the glass, I saw my father's face darken, his jaw clenching as recognition set in. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harper's voice came smoothly through the speakers, "please direct your attention to the screen." The final image appeared, an aerial view of the entire 2-mile stretch, every parcel shaded in Ellington Global blue, except one glaring red dot. Their beloved beach house. "As you can see," Harper continued, "Ellington Global now owns and controls all properties in this exclusive coastal region, including, as of midnight, the access rights to 332 Malibu Shores Drive." Dad shot to his feet. "That's our address. This is outrageous. It's theft." I chose that moment to step through the private entrance, my heels striking the polished floor like gunshots. "Actually," I said, voice calm as a still tide, "it's business." Silence detonated. Mom's hand flew to her throat. Vivian's phone slipped from her fingers. Nathan froze, mouth slack. "Alexis," Mom whispered, like saying my name might undo reality. I smiled and walked to the head of the table, sliding into the chair that ruled the room. "Hello, family. Surprised to see me? I thought this meeting was for successful people only." Dad sputtered. You're Ellington Global?" "Ellington Global Properties," I corrected. "Founded 8 years ago. Current valuation, $5,100,000,000, 0 cents. Though after this morning's Asian market surge, it's likely higher." Their lawyer started rifling through his papers like they might save him. "Don't bother," I said lightly. Every transaction was legal. Every property acquired legitimately, including the rights to control access to the family estate. Vivian's voice cracked. "But you just flip houses. That's what you told us." I laughed, sharp and bright. "No, that's what you assumed. I told you I was in real estate. You were all too busy bragging about surgeries and stock trades to care what that actually meant." "Why?" Mom's voice was barely audible, trembling like glass about to shatter. "Why would you do this?" I leaned forward, folding my hands on the polished obsidian table. "Remember last Christmas? When you told me I wasn't welcome because I had nothing to contribute to the Ellington legacy? Or last summer, when you made me sit at the kids' table because I wasn't successful enough for the main dinner?" Dad's face shifted from furious crimson to paper white. "Alexis," he started, but I cut him off. "What were you trying to do, Dad? Motivate me? To be more like Vivian with her surgical practice? Or Nathan with his trading empire? Did it ever occur to you that maybe, just maybe, I'd already succeeded beyond anything you could imagine?" I pressed a button. Instantly the screens ignited with headlines. "Ellington Global acquires $750, 0 cents, M. Project. The Real Estate Phantom, the billionaire reshaping global coastlines. Who owns Paradise, inside the secret empire transforming Malibu?" Their eyes widened, reflecting the glow of the headlines. "The mysterious developer you read about in Forbes?" I said softly. "The one who bought that Singapore resort last week? The phantom mogul making waves in real estate? That's me, your unsuccessful daughter." Silence swallowed the room, heavy as the Pacific fog. "So here's how this works," I continued, voice steady as steel. "The beach house you worship, it's still technically yours. But the access roads, the private shoreline, the gates, the security contracts, those belong to me. Just like everything else you can see from your perfect little deck." Nathan's voice cracked the silence. What do you want?" I smiled, slow and deliberate. "Want? I want you to finally understand what real success looks like. It's not about titles, degrees, or country club cocktails. It's about vision, impact, power." Rising from my chair, I smoothed my Valentino jacket, letting the weight of the moment hang like storm clouds. "You can keep your family beach weeks, but from now on, you'll need my permission to enter your own property. Consider it a lesson in humility." Mom shot up, eyes blazing. "You can't do this to your own family." I paused at the door, turning back with a calm smile. "Actually, I can." And I did. Just like you could exclude me from gatherings, just like you could belittle my career, just like you could make me feel small, year after year. I let that sink in before adding, "Oh, and Dad, about that text message, I guess I did get a real job after all." I walked toward the exit, heels slicing through the silence. "The new keys to the beach house will be sent once you all complete something I'm calling the Success Reorientation Program. Harper will email the details." Behind me, I heard Mom sobbing softly, Dad barking into his phone, and Vivian whispering the words that tasted like victory. My God, our little sister owns everything. As the elevator doors slid shut, I said to Harper, "Make sure they each get a copy of that Forbes article on their way out, the one with my silhouette on the cover." Family Beach Week just got a new reading list, and this time, the story was all mine. You've seen how they underestimated me. You've seen how they called me a failure, excluded me from dinners, and told me I'd never measure up. And now, you've seen what happened when I refused to let their words define me. But this isn't just about revenge. It's about proving that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's approval. So tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever been told you'd never succeed? Share your story below because I want to hear from people who know what it feels like to rise in silence. And if you believe in taking back your power without losing your integrity, hit subscribe, because this isn't the end of my story. What happens next will shock you even more, and I want you there when it does. Here's my advice to anyone watching this. Stop waiting for validation from people who refuse to see your worth. Stop shrinking yourself to fit their definition of success. Build quietly, move strategically, and when the time comes, let your success speak louder than any argument ever could. I built an empire in the shadows because I believed in my vision even when no one else did. If you're working on something big, don't give up because they don't understand. They're not supposed to. Greatness is often invisible until it's undeniable. So leave me a comment, share your own victory, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Because I promise you, the next chapter of this journey will make every single one of their doubts look small.